You're listening to the Bob Duco Show, fearlessly defending the faith with you every day.
I want you to call in and share with me your thoughts or opinions about anything having to do with anything regarding Islam in America.
Most of the people here are, Lebanese, of Lebanese descent. And we kind of all share the same story where our parents were immigrants from, either Lebanon or Iraq. And so we have a sense of pride, but not out of arrogance, but because, our families went through a lot to get here. I feel like we really appreciate America. So I think it's a sense of being a proud American that we almost need to prove ourselves, and we're like, I'm gonna take advantage of everything that America has to offer, and I'm gonna be the best, businessman, accountant, doctor, whatever it is that I can. Okay.
Look at that.
It's not as bad as I thought. Close.
Good job.
Close.
Good job.
Thank you.
The other day I walked into Charlotte Russe and there was someone greeting everyone that walked in, and she didn't greet me. And I was like, oh, maybe she wasn't paying attention. And then as I was shopping, they were asking all of the shoppers, like, oh, do you need anything? Just come to me. And no one asked me. So and I had like a bunch of things in my hand that I'm like, I'm not even gonna shop here anymore. I put my stuff down and I walked out. I was like, I've never been treated like that
You just
before.
have to brush it off and ignore them, because this is as much our country as it is theirs, and we're just as American. So you just have to ignore it, honestly, because some people, that's just as much as they understand. And it's like, what's the point of us getting mad? They want us to get mad, right? For some reason, Muslims have been diminished in the eyes of Americans now, even though we ourselves are Americans. But we've been made to feel very un-American. And so even though, other countries are being oppressed physically, in this country, I feel like our minds are almost being oppressed because we're not allowed to be ourselves, almost in a way.
Should we be profiling? What about the claims of Islamophobia? Are Muslims being unfairly persecuted and discriminated against in this country? Do you believe Islam is a religion of peace or not? Do you believe it is just a tiny radical fringe that doesn't really represent Islam, that carry out these terrorist attacks or at least support them? Or do you see them as a much bigger part of the DNA of Islam? More is coming up here on The Bob Duco Show. Obviously, as a Christian, I'm not going to agree with Muslims in Islamic teachings theologically. As a Christian, I'm going to say that any teaching that denies Jesus Christ as the Son of God and the Savior of mankind and risen from the dead, I'm going to disagree with. Just like I would expect Muslims to disagree with me theologically about what I believe as a Christian. That's fine. I know this is extremely politically incorrect and people don't want to hear this, and Muslims will get offended when I say this, but the truth is, if you look at the life of Muhammad and the things that Muhammad did himself and the spreading of Islam originally, it is much more consistent with what we see ISIS and Al-Qaeda doing than it is the more moderate, peaceful Muslims. Folks, stop and think about that a moment.
We just honk and wave, get people's attention so they can see the Trump Unity Bridge.
Let's make America great again.
It was about 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, they had the bridge. I was trying to figure out what I was going to do with it. And I was going to make it as a unity bridge to unite people in holy matrimony as a wedding bridge so people could get married on it. And then when the election came up, I said, I got to make the Trump Unity Bridge. So I started working on it, getting the parts together and saving my money. And finally, we got it done. Hi, Trump Unity Bridge, Rob speaking. Can I help you? We're going to Dearborn, Michigan. You know, I've been through over this area before, and I had really strong thumbs up, and I had some haters thumbs down. After the election, it was a little bit more positive. We're gonna go see what it's like today. We're in downtown Detroit right now. You can see some of the factories and the racks sitting there. There's really not much work going on. I mean, they do stuff, but racks have been sitting there for years, since the automotive industry and the parts and stuff. Our vehicles are made in foreign countries.
And out in nearby Dearborn, where the Rouge River runs into the Detroit River, you can see the largest automobile plant in the world.
Michigan had over 10 million foreclosures. That's a lot. I mean, there's in the suburban area, there's only 6 million people living here. It just affected everybody. The millions of people that were living the American life, those jobs went to people that own factories in foreign countries. And everybody was afraid to say recession, depression, just like they're afraid to say radical Islamic terrorist.
God bless Donald Trump. God bless Donald Trump. Let's make America great again.
God bless America. We don't need racists. America's good.
Well, I used to like to go to Dearborn shopping and years ago and walking the streets, and now you're looking over your shoulder whenever you go because you don't know if you're going to be discriminated against. I want our country to be the way it was designed and the way it's intended to be, and the way I grew up, with secure borders. I've always felt safe in my home and my community. Now I get nervous about driving to certain areas.
These next few blocks, my family, grandma, grandpa, aunts, uncles, cousins, we all, like in a 3 or 4 block area, we all lived right over here. We all lived within walking distance. So if mom made something I didn't like for dinner, I go to my aunt's or my grandma's. Uncle Joe is still there. The American flag, that's Uncle Joe. These are some of my Muslim neighbors here. And then they're from Yemen. See, but now look at how nice this is. Look at these, look at these 3 or 4 or 5 in a row.
The American dream is, to me, is pretty much the freedom to have control over my life as much as I possibly can, and having the opportunity to go after the things that I want. I watched some stuff, I don't know when it was, a couple weeks ago, and the video basically talked about a culture disappearing and what it takes. The culture has to produce 2.1 children per family to maintain a culture. Without it, a culture can essentially disappear. If it drops to like 1.8, it has a hard time coming back.
Like Japan?
Yeah, but when you get an influx of different cultures, and again, specifically looking at the Muslim culture, America barely is reaching that 2.1, 2.2 requirement. Muslim culture is coming in and they're bringing like 8 point something.
Our objective is ISIS. They have a little warehouse set up, and we're supposed to go in, watch it for a bit, and then go clear it out, try to see if there's any weapons or anything like that.
Who knows what's going on in those mosques? It's just a matter of not if, but when, you know, because they have sleeper cells, you know, around just waiting to strike. Everyone's in the militia in the United States. They just don't know it. It's whether or not you practice or not.
Extremists is another way to try to demonize what we are and what we believe in. I just like the term patriot because I'm willing to defend myself and what my rights are. To me, that's essentially part of being free.
All right, Billy, which gun are we going to use first? You know, with everything that's been going on lately, with all the Islamophobia and the anti-Muslim rhetoric, this has been the first time in my life, and even though I travel all around the world, that I've actually been worried about my safety when I walk out of the house. So I think it's important that we start learning how to protect ourselves. Well, looky here, right in the nuts. I was born in Dearborn, Michigan. Being an American, growing up in this city, this little suburb outside of Detroit, was really unique and really helped me to understand how I was going to identify as someone who was Lebanese and living here as a part of the immigrant community. I always felt that this was my home, this was a part of who I was, and even though I was connected to my identity and connected to my faith, I was an American.
I want to hear from you folks about how we should handle the issue of Islam, Muslims, suspicion of Islam in this country.
Why we call the terrorists radical. We kind of consider the peaceful Muslims over here in America the normal ones.
I think the Muslims and I think the ISIS are a group of terrorists, and that's the way I feel. Leave them out.
When I was in Salt Lake City, Utah, waiting for a connecting flight, there was a guy who was standing like not too far from where we were sitting, waiting for our flight after I was speaking in Fresno. And he yells at me, "You need to go back to where you came from." So I looked at my watch and I looked at him and I said, "It's called Detroit. I still have another hour and 10 minutes before my flight."
Good one.
Like, you have people that say because I'm Muslim, I'm not American. I can probably trace my family's roots back in this country further than many others. Like, your grandfather came here in 1902. Dad's grandmother was born in Michigan City, Indiana in the late 1800s. Like, our family's been here for generations. So what makes you an American more than me?
Why do I have to look over my shoulder all the time? Why do I have to be concerned about parking behind anyone's store at the mall so I can just literally run in that door, get what I need to get, and walk back, out to my car? Why has it come to that?
The single best way to protect and to keep foreign terrorists from attacking our country is to keep these foreign terrorists from entering our country in the first place.
No KKK, no fascist USA. No Trump, no KKK.
And we will stop radical Islamic terrorism. We will stop it. Not going to let it happen. Not here. Not going to let it happen.
We don't do what we do because of hate. People go, "Why do you hate someone?" We do it because we love this country. We love what's good about it. We love, baseball, hot dogs, apple pie. This is stuff that's been neglected for years.
It's like people already have They think they already know you just by seeing you. At least give me a conversation. When you are a Muslim American, people forget that at the end of the day, you're still an American, which is crazy to me.
I think we should take care of America first. That's all I have to say about that. It should be preference, but America first.
I am an Arab, I am a Muslim, and I shouldn't be ashamed to be proud of those titles. This is a huge part of what makes me an American.